Hello guys, welcome to Akata TV. If this is your first time here, you're welcome. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and like. And if you've been here before, keep being a family. So today, let's discuss about the top 10 African tribes taken in the Atlantic slave trade. It's nearly impossible to make an accurate list of the most prominent ethnic groups taken in the Atlantic slave trade. The one thing we can't measure for the most part by the general regions enslaved Africans were taken from, and even the cultural and linguistic dominance of these groups upon arrival. The Atlantic slave trade was the most tragic event in human history because of how it displaced millions of Africans from their homes and began a legacy of oppression for the descendant generations to come. And this human tragedy is not even taking into account the Arab slave trade of African men and women, which is seldom discussed. Public culture at times assumes we can't know which ethnic groups were taken in slavery, but with a little digging, we can identify highlights and remember the people who experienced this tragedy. One way we can honor these Africans is by speaking their names and acknowledging their history and experience. So let's begin with the top 10 African ethnic groups taken in the Atlantic slave trade. Now we'll have the Shamba people. The Shamba people are located largely in northern Nigeria and Cameroon. And these persons are a very interesting group of people because their oral history seems to suggest their gender identity largely formed due to a mixture of two people who spoke different but very similar languages. The Dhaka and local speakers migrated and intermingled with each other, forming a strong Samba identity. These persons became victims of incessant slave raiding by the Fulani jihad in the 18th and 19th century. And it seems to have gotten so bad that they have to migrate to the mountains. They organized themselves and retaliated attacking slaves and trading their caravans. Oh, so bad. Now we also have the Wolof. The Wolof are located in Senegal, Gambia, and Mauritania. The origin of the Wolof are highly debated, but you must note that a general belief is that they originated further north and began a migration southward into Mauritania and Senegal. Now they founded their own kingdoms and even an empire, but warring led to the enslavement of many Wolof population. Now a segment of Wolof began to contend that their first kingdom and founding fathers came from the Almoravid Empire, and these persons traveled south, bringing Islam to Senegal. Most Wolof today are Muslims, but violent jihad in the past led to the enslavement and displacement of Wolof society. And this violence became so prominent that it led to internal disagreement among the Wolof on Islam. Another top 10 African tribe are the Fulanis. The Fulanis are everywhere. They are one of the largest, if not the largest ethnic group in West Africa. And these people take the title because they are dispersed among so many nations in West Africa. And they are even present in the Eastern Africa. They can be found from Senegal all the way to the Central African Republic. The region that they are most concentrated in is Senegal, Mali, Nigeria, Cameroon, Niger, and that's just the concentrated regions in which they are present. Now, where the Fulanis originate from are very hotly debated, even more than the Wolof. But obviously, the most sound evidence points to their origin in North Africa. The Fulanis are probably one of the original people in North Africa, due to some of the wall paintings, as some scholars say, to their presence, going all the way back to 6000 BC in Algeria. In fact, their history is very rich and full. They were well known throughout every region. They inhabited and mixed with other ethnic groups. They had bars, pyres, and kingdoms all throughout their West Africa. Another vital part about the Fulanis is that they converted to Islam very early in the history and were the primary slave raiders in West Africa. These Fulani sold so many African ethnic groups throughout their history due to the jihad and slave raiding mission they initiated. Ironically, even though they were one of the primary slave raiders, they themselves were constantly enslaved. They were not set free. In fact, some of the most popular slaves taken to the New World were Fulani like Abdurrahman, Omar Ben Sahid, all of which were taken to America specifically because they are one of the biggest, if not the biggest ethnic group in West Africa. And it only makes sense that they got caught up in all the Atlantic slave trade marks. Now, another top African tribes taken in the Atlantic slave trade are the Mandé. Now, some of you may think it isn't fair to pick the Mandé because the Mandé are a collection of ethnic groups all over West Africa that speak the Mandé languages. But it's nearly impossible to pick one Mandé speaking group out of all of them because there are so many and they are dispersed throughout so many countries in West Africa. The most dominant Mandé group probably has to go to the Mandinka. So I guess we'll focus on them because the Mandinka built the greatest and one of the largest empires in West Africa. They also influenced other ethnic groups culturally and linguistically, and they raided the coastline of West Africa, intermixing with coastline people. Even some Fulani themselves have Mandinka ancestry. The Mandinka was so prominent and popular that the term Mandiko, which is an English word, became a popular reference for strong black men with many attributes. The origin of the Mande is very straightforward. It's said to be in Sahel. Further not archaeological evidence suggests that the Mande groups were the first producers of stone settlement civilization in West Africa, where they built elaborate fortified structures in mountains. Mande culture was the most dominant in West Africa from around 1100 BC all the way to 1600. The Mandinka raided the coastline of West Africa, creating many hybrid kingdoms, and all of which got caught up in the Atlantic slave trade. So guys, we've come to the end of this gist. If you love this video, I would love to get more of these videos. Kindly hit the like and subscribe button. Cheers.